Last Tuesday, I came home from work to find my front yard gone. Not damaged. Not trimmed. Gone. My garden, trashed. The swing my daughter built with her grandpa, splintered. And in its place, a yellow HOA violation notice duct-taped to my door. No warning, no vote, no mercy. By Friday, I was hit with $14,327.00 in fines, accused of aggressive landscaping, in order to appear before a private tribunal run by 3 neighbors I'd never even met. I thought HOA meant community. Turns out, it meant control. And now, it's war. Do you really own your home if someone else decides what's allowed in your yard? Because what happened to me can happen to anyone. Let me show you how a garden became a crime scene and a homeowner became an outlaw. I just wanted to grow some damn tomatoes. That's all, not a meth lab, not a goat farm, just tomatoes. It started small, 4 raised beds, a couple cherry tomato vines, and some basil for good measure. My daughter called it Mom's Little Eden. It was the first thing that had made me smile in months. You see, after my husband passed, the silence in that house became unbearable. So, I filled it with plants, with life. It wasn't just a garden. It was my therapy. Until the letter came. Crisp envelope, all caps, no return address. HOA violation, unapproved front yard modifications. I thought it was a joke. Like, you're telling me sunflowers are now contraband? But no, 2 days later, I had a formal summons. To appear before a committee of 3 retired boomers in golf shirts and judgmental stares. They told me my vegetables were a threat to community aesthetics. I nearly spit out my chamomile tea. That's when I realized this wasn't just about landscaping. This was about control. About power. About the illusion of freedom in a neighborhood with $400.00 HOA fees and a 48-page rule book on flagpole angles. They told me my vegetables were a threat to community aesthetics. I nearly spit out my chamomile tea. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about landscaping. This was about control. About power. About the illusion of freedom in a neighborhood with $400.00 HOA fees and a 48-page rule book on flagpole angles. And when I signed the mortgage papers, no one told me I was also signing up for a miniature dictatorship. I mean, owning a home in America is supposed to be the dream, right? White picket fence, 2-car garage, maybe a golden retriever named Scout. Not a surveillance committee that tracks how often I mow my lawn. But here's what nobody tells you at closing. When you buy a house in an HOA neighborhood, you're not just buying the house. You're buying into their version of freedom. I found out the hard way. One day, you're installing a bird feeder. Next day, you're in violation of subsection 3B of the AVN regulation clause, punishable by daily fines of $75.00. No joke. My neighbor got fined because her Halloween skeleton was leaning aggressively. Who makes this stuff up? Turns out, HOAs aren't just your cranky neighbors with clipboards. In many states, they operate like shadow governments. They can issue fines, place liens on your home, even force a foreclosure if you don't pay. Let me say that again for the people in the back. You can lose your house for planting the wrong flowers. And if you think I'm exaggerating, Google HOA horror stories. You'll find tales of kids being banned from playing chalk on the sidewalk, and veterans being told to take down their American flags because it clashes with the neutral aesthetic. So yeah, technically my name is on the deed. But some lady named Brenda from the Architectural Review Committee has more power over my porch than I do. And the scariest part? Most people don't even know what they've signed until it's too late. Next up, let me introduce you to Sarah. She's 72. A widow, retired librarian, and the kind of person who still bakes cookies for her mailman. She's lived in the same cozy blue house for 41 years, long before the HOA even existed. Her front yard, full of wildflowers. Back porch, wind chimes, a rocking chair, and a bird bath shaped like a frog. The most dangerous thing in her house is a cat named Muffin with a thyroid problem. And yet, last October, Sarah got watched. Not by a neighbor, not by a city official, but by a drone. Yeah, a drone. One of those little flying camera gremlins buzzing over her backyard like it was filming an episode of CSI Front Porch Edition. She called me in a panic. There's a robot in the sky, and I think it's spying on my begonias. I thought she was joking, until she sent me the video clip, grainy footage, taken from inside her living room, of a drone hovering right above her bedroom window. Turns out, it was the HOA's new compliance monitoring device. Their words, not mine. Why? Because her trash bins were visible from the sidewalk. On a Wednesday, at 9:03 a.m., trash pickup had been delayed for weather. But apparently that's grounds for visual disruption of community cohesion. Cohesion. We're talking about trash cans, folks. Sarah filed a complaint. They fined her $300, 0 cents. Because filing false accusations against the board. I drove over with a lawn chair, sat on her porch, and dared the drone to come back. Let me tell you about Craig. Craig's just a regular guy, mid-40s, drives a dented Ford F-150, coaches Little League, loves smoked ribs and yard work. One summer, Craig parked his truck half an inch over the HOA's approved driveway boundary line. Not on the grass. Not blocking traffic. Just slightly crooked, like a lazy Tuesday. 2 days later, he got a warning. Then a fine. Then another. By week 3, the HOA filed a complaint in municipal court. Let that sink in. They dragged him into court over parking. They claimed he was non-compliant with community vehicular standards. He showed up to the hearing in his coaching jacket, holding photos of his truck like it was Exhibit A in a federal trial. You know what the judge said? You agreed to their rules when you bought the house. Boom. $850, 0 cents in fines plus court fees. And the cherry on top? The HOA petitioned the court to place a lien on Craig's property in case he was a repeat violator. Over a truck. This isn't some rare glitch in the system. This is the system. In many states, HOAs are given the power to enforce rules with legal weight, and they can act faster than your local police. No warrant. No oversight. Just Brenda, a clipboard, and an attorney on retainer. And here's the kicker. HOA boards can hire private security, real badge-wearing, ticket-writing, taser-carrying guards. So yeah, Craig's truck started a war. But what he didn't know was that the next block over, there was an election coming up. And what happened in that election made everything worse. You won't believe how easy it is to seize power and never give it back. HOA elections are supposed to be democratic. Let me walk you through how ours went last year. First, the announcement came by mail, one flyer, black and white, wedged in with a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon and a roofing ad. It said, in size 9 font, Community Governance Vote, Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Clubhouse Storage Room. 30 minutes. On a Tuesday. In a room that smells like mop water and forgotten tennis balls. Guess how many people showed up? 5. Guess who brought muffins? Janice, the current HOA president. Guess who won re-election? You get one guess. See, here's the trick. Most HOAs don't technically break the law. They just make it very inconvenient for anyone to participate. They bury the rules in bylaws no one reads, hold meetings at weird hours, and use proxies like candy. Meanwhile, people like Janice and her friends run unopposed year after year, crafting new rules like no pink flamingos after Easter, no wind chimes over 60 decibels, and my personal favorite, no visible political opinions including bumper stickers. Yep, bumper stickers. Turns out when no one votes, the clipboard crowd gets absolute power. And power in the wrong hands? Well, that brings us to the Hernandez family. They refused to back down, and the HOA made them pay for it, in more ways than one. The Hernandez family lived 2 doors down from me. Sweetest folks you could meet. 3 generations under one roof, grandma tending roses, dad fixing cars in the driveway, and their youngest son, Leo, straight A student, captain of the robotics team. They'd been in the neighborhood for almost 20 years. Paid off their mortgage, never caused trouble. But trouble came to them. It started with a banister. Yeah, a banister. They replaced the one on their 2nd-story balcony. Just a simple upgrade for safety. Turns out, the new design had too much curvature, a violation of the HOA's Architectural Harmony Clause. They were told to rip it out and replace it with the approved model. Cost $12,000, 0 cents. They refused. Then came the snowball. Fines stacked up daily. Notices were taped to their front door. Rumors started flying. Unsafe structure, code violation, squatting family. One day, the HOA even suggested their home might be eligible for community reclamation, whatever that means. But they stood firm. They knew their rights. And they fought. They showed up to every board meeting. They brought city inspectors. They even got a lawyer. And the HOA? They turned to something worse than lawyers. They turned to isolation. Suddenly, no one would talk to them. Kids stopped playing with Leo. Grandma's garden got mysteriously trampled, twice. One neighbor even called animal control on their family dog, claiming he barked in Spanish. No joke. That's a real complaint someone filed. The Hernandezes won their case in court. The judge ruled the balcony compliant and ordered the HOA to drop the fines. But the damage was done. They moved out 6 months later. Told me they just wanted peace. Wanted their kid to go to school without being called the violation family. That's what happens when you challenge a system that was never designed to protect you. And the craziest part? All this bullying, all this money, all this power is made possible by a single line in the HOA contract most people never read. However, the legal loophole that 90% of homeowners don't even know exists. Because that's the part no one talks about. You think you're protected by the Constitution, right? Freedom of speech, right to due process, all that red, white, and blue jazz. Well, meet the one sentence that quietly bypasses most of that. By purchasing this property, homeowner agrees to abide by the terms and conditions of the Homeowners Association. Sounds innocent. Sounds like fine print. But in reality, it's the legal equivalent of signing a deal with the devil, only with more landscaping restrictions. See, HOAs aren't government entities. They're private corporations, and that means they don't have to follow the Constitution the same way your city does. They can ban flags. They can restrict gatherings. They can fine you for expressing an opinion on your own porch. Because legally you signed away that slice of freedom when you bought your house. Voluntarily. No one forced you. You didn't even notice it between the loan docs and the congratulations homeowner balloon. And once you're in, getting out is like trying to cancel a gym membership run by the mafia. I know folks who've tried to dissolve their HOA. They needed 75% of the community to agree. Guess who held just enough proxy votes to block it? Yup, Brenda and her muffins. Again. And here's the worst part. Even if you win a lawsuit against the HOA, you still have to pay their legal fees. Because that's written into the same bylaw packet no one ever reads. They play with house money. You play with your mortgage. So here's the part I never thought I'd get to say. Someone actually won. A little town in Ohio, Maple Glen. Population 2,103. 1 gas station, 2 traffic lights, and the most stubborn group of retirees I've ever seen. Their HOA had been running the neighborhood like a boot camp for years. No basketball hoops. No garage sales. One woman got fined because her pumpkins were still out on November 2nd. Then one day, someone snapped. His name was Marvin. age 76. Occupation, grandpa, woodworker, and full-time bringer of justice. He got cited for building a porch swing without architectural approval. They told him to tear it down. He told them to go, well, somewhere warmer than Ohio. But instead of just grumbling, Marvin did something brilliant. He started printing the HOA's rules on flyers, line by line, and highlighting every ridiculous one. Then he slipped them into everyone's mailbox, along with muffins. Within 2 months, the neighborhood had a movement. People started showing up to board meetings, standing room only. Someone even brought a marching band. Brenda resigned, the treasurer moved to Florida. And the residents? They voted to dissolve the HOA. Legally, officially, irrevocably. They threw a block party to celebrate. Marvin built a dozen porch swings. And to this day, they still call him the chairman, but only as a joke. Because here's the truth, folks. Sometimes the little guy does win. Not because he shouts the loudest reason, but because he stands long enough for others to stand with him. If this story made you smile or gave you hope, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who's ever been pushed around by people with too much time and too many rules. And hey, don't forget to subscribe. Because here at this channel, we believe in stories that punch up, not down. Stories where everyday people take back what's theirs. Stories that remind us you don't have to own the system to beat it. You just have to stop letting it own you.